Alright everyone, today the PS4 Slim, don't remember the exact model number, I'll check on that here in a sec, but got a PS4 Slim, came through today, needs deep cleaned. Got a couple other issues with it. The disc does not go in very well, so the customer said, which as you can see here, definitely going to be something that we fix. Easy fix, you'll see here in a sec. But yeah, so we'll get started in it. We'll check this disc, shut down the system, and we'll get going. All right, so we're back. We're gonna pop this thing open. It's a CUH-2015A model, for those of you who are interested. So we're gonna go ahead and start the tear down here. I've got my iFixit kit here. Start off with the T. 9-bit. Start off popping off this cover, put it facing out from you. I won't do a full detailed tear down, but I'll tell you, get rid of that one there. Okay, so looking at it, definitely he's had roach damage, you can tell. Customer said that he's cleaned it already, but I doubt that, considering the rollers are still pretty dirty and it runs fairly hot, so we're gonna end up repasting it too, but he may have just cleaned up the bugs. There's definitely damage you can see on the plate here. So cool thing is, I guess he left a lot of the screws out and looks like he ripped that off. Didn't know how to take care of that, so yeah, we'll end up having to solder that back on as well. That'll be fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and start tearing this down here. Actually, keep that bit on. Got my other screwdriver here. Let's get this hard drive out. Start keeping track of your screws. Get this drive out. Yeah, it's pretty rusted and worn, that tray there, so clear indication. Bugs, other sort of damage. So that security bit's already gone. He left that out as well. Let's shut over here. I am just going to, goodness gracious. Yeah, they definitely did not know what they were doing tearing this apart. So put the ribbon cables in first and then just shove the plate right over top of it. So yeah, we'll make sure everything is properly taken care of. Good news is I've got a ton of screws from previous teardowns and part systems laying around, so I've got a bunch of spare screws. I can put all the screws back in where they're supposed to. Power supply screw, I think, is it's still in. It is not. No. Just pull that power supply right out. Yeah, this definitely isn't a go-to tutorial for tearing these down, because whoever took this apart beforehand definitely did not put stuff back where they're supposed to. There's that one wire he just yanked that right out. Can't quite remember. I think that one is your controller antenna. So I'm gonna have to strip that, and I might even have an extra antenna laying around too. We'll find that in a bit. Moving on, to get your CD drive or Blu-ray drive, pretty easy on these Slims. I like working on the Slims a lot more than anything else. Alright, so we got this cover off. definitely nasty there. But I mean, you got all the dust and bugs out, so I appreciate that at least. I don't like working on bug systems. So yeah, moving right along. To get to the rollers, pretty simple. This is your drive right there. Usually a couple screws. For other systems, it's going to be different. Fat model, they're enclosed. I believe the Pro model is quite similar to this one. I've only torn apart a couple of Pros, so I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but 2 screws. Sometimes there's 3. I feel like there should be 3. Maybe not, but they come out, so there's that. So these rollers are held in by just snaps. So this piece here, I kind of just grab from the bottom and pull up. Get one roller out, get this out. Last roller just kind of pulls out. It's attached to this gear, so don't snap up because you'll snap that gear. Just pull out gently. Don't lose those at all. So next up, a little bit of this stuff here. This is 99% isopropyl alcohol. I call it holy water. It's literally used to do anything, honestly. So get a cotton swab, nice dab of the holy water on there, and then just start going back and forth. And these are what's responsible for grabbing that disc and pulling it in. So if they get dirty, build up dust, whatever, they kind of lose their stickiness. But getting all that off with this isopropyl is gonna restore it back to normal. These definitely aren't the worst I've seen. I've had where this cotton swab is just black. Pretty gross. Okay. So after that dries, you can definitely feel it. You can grab its stickiness back there, but just keep on going here. Give it a couple of passes. Not too bad. Like I said, I've seen worse. So that's about what you're gonna get there. So that looks great. I'm actually gonna pull up my chair so I can see this a little bit better. See the top of my head. So these rollers, they both have the exact same ends. There's one, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's like a triangular shape there, and then more of a rectangular oval shape. So those oval shaped ones is where this piece is going to sit back in, right? So the triangular piece, there's nothing over here, so like I said, both these rollers are the exact same, so it doesn't matter which. If you don't remember where they came from, you can put this one here or that one there. Just put it in there, make sure it lines up with the gear, and set that in with the appropriate one. It will not fit in the triangular piece, so it can only go in one way. Set it in there, the little housing. Get them all lined up. You might have to take it out like I did. Took it out, put it back in, make sure everything lines up. And then you can't just set them in there, you gotta let them snap into place. So kind of put your thumb underneath to hold it so you don't break the plastic inside. Get them in there, and they look good. Alright, so we'll keep on moving on here. I'm gonna put this cover back on because I don't need that to get the lens dirty. This way, yes. This way up. Okay. So I'm gonna put this back in there. Keep the lens protected. Just fall into place. Screwdriver. Screws back in. Alright, so the process for all that is the same for every system as far as the rollers, how they're housed, sitting in there, but like I said, getting to the drive itself, a bit different for each system, so mileage may vary, but we'll keep going on. So I'm going to flip this over here, and I'm going to grab Phillips bit and start taking out all these screws. So that shield comes up and out, and I'm honestly surprised he didn't destroy any of these cables putting this back together. That cable's just twisted up. It's a shame. Pull these out. That one up, that one out. Okay, so last little bit before you can pull the motherboard out, you got your APU clamp on. Two screws here. Get that out of the way. Set that off to the side. You're good there. Yes. Right. So it looks like whenever he tore this apart, he lost some thermal pads for the RAM chips. So that's super fun. There's two of them. That's cool. Alright, so I'm just going to grab these and move them over here. Not forget to put them back on. I guess we'll just try and put as many as possible back on. Might actually have some laying around still from other systems. That'd be cool. Okay, those are off. You can just lift the board from this end because it's kind of hinged on that side. Also, don't forget your power supply is 5-volt connector still down there. Actually, I should. Okay. So all I did was just fish it through so I can pull it up and out. You can unplug it. I sometimes do, I sometimes don't. I'm actually going to. Just make sure you're holding that connector. I've had somebody who previously took his apart and just could not get that off and ended up ripping his connector off. So I had to solder it back on for him and get it going. So you just gotta be careful. So now you can just lift your Movo out and you're good to go. And it looks like you repasted it, but just as I suspected, didn't put a whole lot on. So grab a Q-tip. I'm gonna clean off his old paste here. So he definitely used it sparingly, which you kind of want to, but you kind of don't, because if you use too much, it actually does worse. Then there's more bad than good. But if you don't use enough, then you still get the same issues as it's going to overheat because it's not transferring enough. So it's fine. Get all his old off. New stuff. Got this MX4. Should probably orientate it this way. This MX4 here for you. It's killer stuff. I picked it up off Amazon for $10 a tube. It lasts me like 8 or 9 jobs, depending on what they are. Just squeeze a nice little bit there. Perfect. I actually think that was the end of my tube. I'd replaced a PS3 yesterday, and it was, they take a lot. I'm gonna finish putting some of this compound off of here. Let's grab a little bit of paper towel. Yeah. Okay. That's in my hand. That's annoying. All right. So his board got roach damage on it. So I'm gonna kind of just scrub it. Got this brush here. A lot of people use toothbrushes. I snagged this brush a while ago offline. Try and get as much of the gunk off as possible. Chances are they're never gonna see this. This actually came from a store. They bought it off of somebody who said that he just thermal or repasted it. So they didn't trust him. It was good on their part. Right. So last thing I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna replace this CMOS battery. So I'm gonna go grab one right quick. Grab that. Alright, so I've got my CMOS battery there, and got my CMOS battery here. Zoomed in a little bit for you. We can take this out. Right. So, kind of hold in with tension. Push outwards towards, you can kind of see the legs here. Push outwards toward those, pull up at the same time, pop right out. So I'm replacing these because here recently, it's been kind of a big thing. Sony's CMOS batteries are dying on them. So I've been ordered by that local store to replace all the CMOS batteries. So it's not like it's gonna hurt anything. I'm zoom back out there. Alright, so we're done. We're just going to start reassembling it now. Putting it back together. Flip it up. Board in. Nice and tight. Assemble the APU clamp. That back on. I had to stand up for a second, make sure I was recording. I couldn't quite remember if I hit start again or not. Okay. So, toss that to the trash. Don't need it anymore. Alright, so next up, it's thermal pads. Put those back on the board. I need them. Said just as many as possible. I couldn't find, I stepped off camera for a sec. Couldn't find any other pads. So, just gonna do as many as I can. All but 2. Smush them down. There. All right. Next up on the board, putting this back on. Pull that down. Plug your 5-volt back in. This ain't plugged in. Not gonna get any system power. I can turn on anything. Make sure it's flipped right. And plug her in. Pull back through. I'm just gonna fish it while I'm down here. Fish it back through. There's another cable here from another antenna that fishes through with the power supply cable, so trying to get both of those back in to their housing. Bear with me for a sec here. Beauty. Moving right along. The shield back on. So that's the only thing you plug in before you put the shield on. Guy who had it before me did not know that. Okay, so everything should sitting down nice and pretty like. Scoot back a little bit. Grab my screws. Start putting the screws back in. So as far as the screws go, I've torn apart hundreds of PlayStations, and I've noticed these black screws kind of go back in the housing pretty much wherever they're going to be going back into metal. So there's different threads. These are the finer metal machined screws, and you can tell that by the almost white looking insert there. You might not be able to see it on camera, but in person, that's how you can tell. Kind of inset a little bit more than normal. Then these screws go on the plastic. They're coarse thread. So we're gonna put that cable back in. Flip that connector back up. Always shut them because I've had one snag, and trying to replace these are a pain in the neck. Wiggle that one back in. And your power button board connector. And go back in there. Make your fan connector. Boom. Okay. flip it back over for now. Ground wire. What I'm gonna do for now is I'm gonna plug the power supply back in. Put that back up. Set it back in there for now. And put it back in. Just want to make sure before I put everything else back that A, it's going to power, and B, I clean those rollers good enough. Okay. So, go ahead and power. Sometimes it takes a sec for the power supply to fill up the voltage. Get the fun experience of cleaning that. And should take the disc in perfectly. Beautiful. Alright, so here we are with this again. Sitting on my test bench. Kept giving me a bunch of problems. A couple things. One, power button board, for whatever reason, isn't displaying an LED light anymore. I set it up, kept thinking maybe I didn't have any of my cables correct or anything like that, so whatever, it's working, it's on. Then I got it up, finally on, and it wouldn't recognize the disc, so took it all apart, cleaned the laser, and it is all done, good to go. So just showing how clean those rollers are now. Yeah, goes in nice and easy now. Nice and easy. Alright, I'm gonna set this back up. Oh yeah, this here too. My solder work wasn't cutting it. For whatever reason, the wire's not stripping right. So I went ahead and found a PS3 antenna in my junk box because I didn't have a PS4 one. Plug it up, it works. This is just for Bluetooth antenna for your controller, so it'll have more range than right next to the console. It does the job. No one's ever gonna see it, so I get range like 15-20 feet on the other side of my shop, so I would assume whoever's using it at home is gonna be doing just fine. Anyways, yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna assemble it, send it back to the customer. Should be happy with it working how it should now. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.